On Monday, former President Trump is expected to stand trial for the so-called hush money case. That's the case in which he's being accused of falsifying business records, in which he paid film star Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 presidential election. What should we know about this case?
First, we have the facts, which are fairly well-worn and have been known to the public for a long time. They essentially involve a payment from former President Trump or his organization to Stormy Daniels to essentially not come out and talk about a certain extramarital affair, which former President Trump denies occurred. And the reason that this has been brought up as a charge, as a felony charge, relates to the business records of the Trump organization. The allegations from the district attorney is that former President Trump mischaracterized these payments that were made to Stormy Daniels in order to cover them up, in order to make them unclear, and therefore created these false business records. But that's just one component. Typically, that would be a misdemeanor charge. That wouldn't rise to the level of a felony charge. The added piece that we have here is that District Attorney Alvin Bragg has alleged that this payment was made in furtherance of another crime. And that crime has been less defined. It's not exactly clear what it is, but it looks like it's tied to a violation of either New York state election law or federal election law, in which an individual cannot contribute to a campaign over a certain amount. So it's really two components. We have the falsified part of the business records. That's part one. But part two, and I think the DA's challenge in this case, is to show that that was to conceal another crime or in furtherance of another crime. I think a common phrase that everyone could get their head around is sort of the concept of the cover-up is worse than the crime. And that's really what's at issue in this case.
Okay. And so a few hours ago, former President Trump's legal team filed an emergency request to the appeals court asking them to reconsider if this case is truly going to go forward on Monday. Can you sort of explain what exactly is happening there? And part two, do you think we are actually going to have a case on Monday, or is this going to keep getting kicked down the field a bit?
Absolutely. So former President Trump's strategy in basically every case where he's facing an indictment, and it's a very typical defense strategy, is to deny and delay. You want to push the time for the trial as far as possible because that could be advantageous. You could collect more information, learn more about the case, and be able to present your position more thoroughly when it comes time to actually be in trial. So what happened in this past week is that former President Trump's legal team initially filed to the Court of Appeals asking for an opportunity to stay the case pending Trump's appeal of a gag order, which was put on him by the judge in this matter. That failed. So just as of this morning or earlier today, Trump's legal team has filed yet another appeal saying that a lower court proceeding on whether or not Trump has presidential immunity, a ruling in a lower court case should now be able to be appealed before this case moves forward. So it's another legal theory, but at its core, the idea is to delay the case, to not allow the case to go forward on Monday, where we would enter into jury selection. And then once the jury is impaneled, we would go forward with the trial. Once that starts, it's very difficult to stop that process. So Trump's legal team is giving it another opportunity. And along with this appeal, they are attempting to enforce subpoenas. Former President Trump's legal team is essentially trying to get more information from Stormy Daniels and her communications with former President Trump's attorney, Michael Cohen, related to communications that Ms. Daniels had with Mr. Cohen, because those may be relevant for trial. They may be relevant for a defense. So former President Trump's defense team is trying to use the enforcement of the subpoena as potentially another way to say, we're not in possession of all the information that we need. The trial should be delayed because it will unduly prejudice the defendant in this case, former President Trump. So whether or not the trial is going to go forward, I believe these could be best characterized as long shot attempts. They are long shot attempts to delay the trial, to put the trial in a position where it is not going to occur. But these are emergency applications. So it's really at the buzzer beater. It's a Hail Mary. It's really at the last minute. I would expect that the trial does go forward. There may be some more time given to collect information, but I frankly would be surprised if an appeal at this stage is successful and would stay the trial. If it did, it would stay it for a significantly long time. And by staying it, I mean, it would stop it from occurring. My view of this is it's a low probability. It could happen. I frankly would be surprised, but may get delayed further to collect some documents and to prepare more for the trial. I think that that's possible. Yes.